Detroit student of spirit communication ends life, perhaps in effort to test theory. The New York Times, February 7, 1921. Detroit, February 6th. Believed to have entered into a compact which, if successful, would solve the problem of existence after death, Thomas Lynn Bradford committed suicide last night. His body was found in his room at 2500 Howard Street with the gas turned on. Nearby, where they had dropped from his hand, were found several typewritten pages on "Can the dead communicate with the living?" Somewhere in Detroit is believed to be a girl who is waiting for him to answer this question. Bradford, who was about 48 years old, was a graduate from Columbia College of Oratory, Chicago. He was a dramatic and humorous reciter and impersonator, and is said to have been also a designing and electrical engineer. He is known to have read much on science and spiritualism. He was born in Detroit. Friends assert that the mystical and the occult interested him more than affairs of more material and worldly moment. "When I die, my body goes to science. It is to be sent to the Michigan Medical Institute. Anyhow, my body does not amount to much," was the statement Bradford made some time ago, according to Mr. Marcotte, in whose house he roomed. Marcotte said that Bradford told him that he recently inserted an advertisement in a Detroit newspaper asking anyone who was interested in the subject of whether the dead can communicate with the living to write him, and that it was answered by a Detroit girl, who he said visited Bradford for a talk on the subject. It was in some such conversation as this that Bradford is thought to have come to a decision that there was but one way to solve the mystery: two minds, properly attuned, one of which must shed its earthly mantle. According to Mr. Marcotte, Bradford went to bed early Friday evening and requested that if anyone called, to tell them he was out and would not return until a late hour. When he did not see Bradford, he went up to his room and found gas pouring out from under the doorsill. He pushed the door and found it open. On entering, he discovered the man dead in bed. According to Mr. Marcotte, Bradford appeared at the store conducted by the former Friday. He was asked if he desired his laundry. "How much is it?" Bradford is said to have asked. 87 cents, was the reply. "If I had that much, I would be a millionaire," Bradford retorted. Only 5 cents was found in the man's clothes. Several pawn tickets, 3 cheap watches, several works on spiritualism, and 2 trunks were among the articles found in his room. Mr. Marcotte says that Bradford told him that in his younger days he was a star athlete and was champion pole vaulter of the Detroit Athletic Club. He would often put on a frock coat and impersonate Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Bradford is said to have been negotiating for the publication of a book on spiritualism which he had written. Dead spiritualist silent. Detroit woman awaits message but denies any compact. The New York Times, February 8, 1921. Detroit, February 7th. Though more than 40 hours have elapsed since the body of Thomas L. Bradford, psychic investigator and lecturer, was found in the gas-filled room of the house where he had lived, no message has come back from the spirit world to Mrs. Ruth Doran. Mrs. Doran was brought into communication with Bradford through his advertisements in Detroit newspapers for someone interested in spiritualistic science. She, however, denies that an agreement existed between them contemplating his suicide to put to a test the theory as to whether the dead may communicate with the living. The Detroit police based their belief that such was Bradford's purpose from a sheet found in his typewriter on which he had written, "And it is through scientific facts that I propose to demonstrate clearly the phenomena of spirits, and prove that all the phenomena is outside the domain of supernatural." Though conceding that the message indicates Bradford died with the belief that he could transmit a message from the spirit world, Mrs. Doran denies emphatically that any demonstration of that nature had been planned between them. "I am his friend," she said. "If he can cause his spirit to come back to earth, I believe his spirit will come to me first. I believed in him in life, and I will wait and see if there is any spirit manifestation. If there is such a thing as spirit communication, I believe he will make his presence known to me."